3, 2, 1.
Hey there, it's Gary Parrish. It's Friday, November 19th, 2021. Welcome back to the CBS Sports Eye on College Basketball podcast, where we sometimes discuss camel fighting, dodo birds, and leaky black. Matt Norlander is here with me. And since we last talked super late on Tuesday night, it's continued to be a rough go for the Big Ten. You might remember on Monday night, number 10 Illinois lost at unranked Marquette. Then on Tuesday night, number 4 Michigan lost at home to unranked Seton Hall. We talked about both of those games on the previous podcast. And then on Wednesday night, number 20 Maryland lost at home to unranked George Mason. And then on Thursday night, number 19 Ohio State lost at unranked Xavier. Plus, Rutgers lost at DePaul, which should never happen. That seems like punishment for renaming the rack after a sub shop. According to Jared Burson of ESPN Stats and Info, buddy Jeff Borzello tweeted this Thursday night, it's the first time in Big Ten history and only the second time in Division I history that a conference has had a ranked team lose to an unranked / non-conference opponent on 4 consecutive days. Deadleg, the Big Ten is supposed to be the best conference in the country, and it might be, but it sure is losing a lot so far this season. These dudes can't get out of the Gavitt Games fast enough. Question for you. Is it time to relegate everybody in the Big Ten except Purdue, to the Big South, Big West, or Big Sky? We can assign them however we see fit.
What's the best Big Sky fit for the Big Ten? I guess Nebraska.
It's definitely Nebraska.
Okay.
I'd feel sick for those Big Sky opponents having to go to Pinnacle Bank, though. That doesn't seem fair.
Yeah, we can't be doing that. I tell you what. So because of the way the preseason KenPom projections work, and there's a ton of preseason bias still built in, the Big Ten is still rated as the best league in America as we speak this morning. The Big 12 is a close number 2. In reality, the Big 12 is the best league right now and could well be the best league again. You are right. They couldn't get out of it. They could not get out of those Gavitt Games fast enough.
They ain't never been. This is going to be like when Kentucky lost at Indiana, and John Calipari was like, all right, we're not doing that anymore. It's like Christian Watford shot, and John was like, all right, we're done with that. The Big Ten is going to be done with the Gavitt Games, but they're going to have to find something else to play in. The Big Ten Big Sky Challenge is now going to take up the second week of the season. The Gavitt Games are done.
Hashtag Big Ten Big Sky Challenge. Now that you mention it, like, I'm wondering in the past decade how many times a Big Ten team has even scheduled a Big Sky team. Doesn't feel like I'm getting a lot of Montana State playing Wisconsin. Doesn't feel like that's a common bond there, but we sure could use it. That's a hell of a stat that you brought up that Borzello tweeted. I also heard it on SVP shows late on Saturday night. By the way, that noise you heard is disappearing forever. That is a noise I cannot stop on this computer. I will soon be using this computer, but I don't have the dongle. Don't even get me started on this. So we had a couple of complaints about what's that noise? Why don't you guys turn off your alerts? I can't turn off that alert. I have tried. I don't know what to do. So that's disappearing.
I thought I was supposed to be the technology challenge.
Oh my God.
I turn off all my alerts. You'll never hear an alert from me.
We almost never heard from you.
That's a
20
rough
minutes
go.
to get going on this bad boy
because I had a bad wire.
It was bad. We almost had to go bootleg audio there, but we are good to go. This should be the last podcast you ever hear that stupid noise on my computer. It's so perfect, by the way, and I'll get to the Big Ten in a second. Like they make these new MacBook Pros, and these are now all of the inputs. They don't have USB, so I got to go buy an adapter to get this hooked up so I have my mic work.
I have every adapter you could possibly imagine. I have so many adapters. I travel with. We should show my suitcase on the podcast
like a
someday.
Grateful Dead roadie. Yeah.
It really is. Like it looks like I'm in a band, except I'm not. I'm just the Jim Nance of college basketball podcasting. But I have like a little case, and it's got every adapter, every IFB, every portable mic. I got portable lights now. I'm set up. Anytime you need to talk to me, I'm going to sound great and be well lit, except for the 20 minutes ago. That was a problem. But going forward, I'm in a good place.
Not a nose. Okay, so the Big Ten is not doing so well. But how about this? It's not just the Big Ten, although it is in trouble in that 4 straight days ranked teams losing to unranked opponents. Only the second time ever that had happened is wild. First time in Big Ten history. Here's what we have for records across the country right now from conferences. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can see them scrolling across the bottom of your screen. So the best record by far, you got the Big 12 at 29-2. The Big East is 31-4. Great start to the Big East. SEC 37-6. Fourth best record. You know what it is?
Big Sky.
Oh, I don't have Big Sky on, so I can't say for sure, but I'm pretty positive it's not the Big Sky. The WCC is 30-7. Gonzaga, BYU, San Fran, Santa Clara, St. Mary's, a combined 18-0, all undefeated. Hashtag 4-bid WCC. San Francisco got a come-from-behind win against Nevada on Thursday night. Big time. Seriously, WCC. We'll save it for maybe another pod, but they're looking pretty nice so far. Then the Americans 28-8. And then ACC and Big Ten both with 10 losses apiece. The ACC is 38-10. The Big Ten is 37-10. The Pac-12. Oh, boy. Doesn't even deserve to play the Big Sky. 32-11. And the Mountain West hasn't played nearly as many games. Mountain West is 23-11. So those are your overall records. We're 9 days into the season right now. Big Ten's having its issues, but it's not the only big league. That's why I brought that up, GP. ACC already in double-digit losses. Pac-12 already in double-digit losses as well. The Big Ten gets the most attention because it had the most high-profile teams heading into the season, and you've seen some unexpected losses happen at the top of the standings.
Obviously, of the past two nights, I think the most interesting and, relative to the point spread, most surprising result was George Mason going and winning at Maryland. George Mason had never beaten Maryland in the history of the world, and they go and do it on Wednesday night, and they go and do it with first-year 33-year-old head coach Kim English, which is just a great story. I have to update the top 25 and 1 every single morning. Do you know that? Woo!
Yes, we all know that. Yes,
and I typically write about a team that is in the top 25 and 1. And yet for Thursday morning's top 25 and 1, I you could tie it to Maryland because they were in there, not anymore. But I mostly wrote about, George Mason and Kim because it's such a neat deal. I don't think have been to the NCAA tournament since 2011. Never finished better than 5th in the Atlantic 10 with Dave Paulson. So last March, they fired Dave and they hire Kim, who was an assistant at Tennessee. Before that, an assistant at Colorado. Played collegiately at Missouri and subsequently played in the NBA and sort of a rising star in the coaching profession. At a very young age, again, 33, he gets a job at George Mason, which he's from Baltimore. So he grew up 60 miles from George Mason's campus, 40 miles from Maryland's campus. He's a Maryland native. And in his 4th game as a Division I head coach, he goes and beats Maryland at Maryland. Like, I feel sick for Maryland fans because I know they didn't want that to happen. But if you can separate yourself from that just a bit, it's a really neat story.
It's a very good story. Yes. First of all, I think I've seen about 20 media members refer to Kim English's age when they've brought up the fact that George Mason's 4-0 now. I think this might be mandatory. 33-year-old, but he is young. He's young and he's off to a wonderful start. It's like 30-year-old Drew Valentine also off to a very good start at Loyola.
Yeah, like I do think his age is part of. Like I don't say like 64-year-old John Calipari or however old he is. But I do think when somebody is 33 and a Division I head coach at a school that has some history, you did the big story on George Mason's Final Four run a few years back. That was the biggest, I think the biggest, most notable development of the past two nights. And the other reason I think you see maybe 20 media members tweet about this on Wednesday night is because everybody knows Kim. And maybe I can't speak for everybody, but I think most people like Kim and love seeing him have this success. It's interesting. He did something when he was in school that I've never had another college basketball player do. I've never seen anybody else do it. We were at a game at Missouri, and it was a big game. I don't remember who they were playing. I meant to look it up, and I just didn't. But there was a lot of national media there. That's the type of big game it was. So I don't remember exactly who was there, but for the sake of the conversation, let's say it was Dana O'Neill, Andy Katz, Mike DeCourcy, me, whatever. And we're all, game over, press conferences. Now we're all in the media room, banging out columns, trying to get to last call at some college bar. Probably sounds like something we do. And door opens, and it's Kim English, and he walks in and introduces himself to every one of us. Hey, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I'm Kim English. Just wanted to say I really appreciate you being here. Really enjoy your work. It's good to meet you in person. To Dana, and then to me, and then to Mike or whoever was there. And I just thought that was a really impressive thing at that age, because here's the truth. College basketball fans know, who these people are and what we do. But college basketball players, I don't know how much they pay attention to us, actually. And but Kim recognized at a very young age, like, hey, I don't know where my life is going. Am I going to be a professional basketball player? Am I going to be in the media like a lot of former college players? Am I going to be in coaching and I'm going to have relationships with these people? I don't want to speak for Kim, but like I'm confident he recognized those things. So why not develop relationships? Why not meet them? Why not introduce myself? And I don't know, that story, as you know, I don't remember a lot of things. I can't remember who Missouri played. I can't remember who was there. I remember that. And so when you see people genuinely happy for the way Kim's head coaching career has gotten off to a nice start, I think a lot of it is tied to, we feel like we've known this guy since he was a college student, because in many cases, we have known him since he was a college student.
Indeed. And listen, that was a good hire by George Mason. There's already, I did, so that would have been Wednesday night, late Wednesday. I just was like, and I usually don't do this much, but sometimes I'm oddly intrigued. So I did pop into a Maryland message board, popped into a Missouri message board. Dude's coached 4 games, and it's already like
they both want to hire him.
I mean,
and like that, my Twitter mentions, because I tweeted about it Wednesday night, and my mentions were like, Kim, it's time to come back to Missouri. Like they're ready, they're fired up. Well, good for him.
There was another thread titled on a Maryland message board. This is why, like, I'm sure some of these threads are made in jest, but some of them are earnest and serious and out of desperation and frustration. And I swear to God, one of them, and I don't remember the board. This might have been Scott Van Pelt posting this for all I know, but it's time to call Rick Pitino. No, fans, you're not losing Mark Turgeon this year. That's not happening. But the idea that you lose one game to George Mason for the first time in your school history, and now it's time to get Rick Pitino on the phone.
No, some of these message boards, like, I don't spend hardly any time on them, because it's just like it's a total waste of time. But every once in a while, I have friends who are on them, and they'll bring me some wild thing that they read on the message board, and it's so wild that to any reasonable person, it's like, what is it? What are you even doing? But these people often, like, they really are thinking along these lines, like they really believe it. For instance, last year I got a buddy, he's a Florida State grad, loves Florida State, and he texts me, I don't know, February, March, and he was like, what are you hearing on Roy Williams at North Carolina? Are you hearing he might retire? And I'm like, well, at his age, you're always, near retirement. So nothing would surprise me, but I'm not necessarily hearing he's definitely retiring. And I said, why? What's up? And he said, well, I just read on the message board, Florida State message board. He said that they were going to sort of nudge Roy Williams into retirement and hire Leonard Hamilton to replace him. And I actually texted back. I was like, are you serious with this? And he was like, yeah, that's it's like good sources. I'm like, why would North Carolina retire Roy Williams and hire 73-year-old Leonard Hamilton? What are you talking? Do you realize how crazy that sounds?
He was half on it, though.
he had half of it right.
Half of it was right.
But like there was apparently a thread somewhere about Leonard Hamilton's going to be the next head coach at North Carolina. which would have been fine with me. But like North Carolina's just not going to hire a 73-year-old. Leonard Hamilton's going to coach at Florida State until he decides not to coach, and then that'll be that. But like that's what is often on message boards. Some wild stuff, man.
Yeah. There's a good I don't follow this because I think it's mostly college football, but there's a Twitter handle account, Message Board Geniuses, and occasionally it'll get retweeted into my timeline, and some of them are phenomenal. Like, they're just incredible. So yeah, I got to give Rick Pitino a call. The other, by the way, George Mason will play James Madison on Friday for the 100th time in school history. Both those teams are undefeated, and if Mason can get that win, I believe it's a road game, then it will like really start to be developing a legitimate at-large candidacy, and we'll see what they can do. If George Mason gets the NCAA tournament this season and Missouri just kind of does what we think it's going to do, then yes, I suppose after just one season, there will be plenty of Kim English noise to return home. The other game we should probably talk about that happened on Thursday night was, I didn't realize this till I was watching the broadcast. Xavier gets a big win at home against Ohio State. Did you realize this was the first time these schools had played since that awesome tournament game in 2007? Trivia time. Who was on the call? Who was the play-by-play announcer for that game?
Gus Johnson?
That's right.
I don't know how I remember that.
We got someone out here tracking all this. Look at that.
I might have just guessed. That.
Phenomenal game, though. Phenomenal. And trivia time.
Oh, come on. Bring it. I'm 1 for 1 today.
Because it was I think that might have been the last tournament where they played on the old floors at the schools where they played in. It was before the NCAA just ruined all that and put that bland crap on the floor. What venue was that at?
Oh, that was clearly played at Pinnacle Bank?
No. I don't think Pinnacle Bank existed in 2007. That would have been Rupp Arena. So that was a second round epic between Xavier and Ohio State. Ohio State won that one. Xavier won on Thursday night. What was your impressions of that game?
Listen, great win for Xavier. Remember, they're still playing without Zach Fremantle, who was their leading scorer last season. He averaged 16.1 points, 8.9 rebounds. He had surgery middle of last month for a foot injury, and that's usually the recovery from that injury is like a 6-week deal. So he could be back at the end of this month, maybe early December. That seems to be the timeline, but he's not back now. So they're playing out without a super important guy, and you still knock off Ohio State. You know, Paul Scruggs got 14.6 rebounds, 4 assists in that game. He's now averaging 18, 6, and 4.3 assists through 3 games. So he's having a really nice start to this season. Xavier is now 3-0. I did push them into the top 25 and 1. They're in the 30s in most computer rankings, but I'll give them the benefit of the doubt for now, coming off of a big win on Thursday night. To me, the more interesting thing is Ohio State, because they're now 1-3 against the spread. Barely beat Akron despite being a 16.5-point favorite. Only beat Niagara by 10 despite being a 19.5-point favorite. And then lost at Xavier by 6 despite being a 2.5-point favorite. So they haven't been performing to expectations. And I think there's there's an obvious issue relative to what the preseason expectations were. Mm-hmm. And it's that Cedric Russell is giving them nothing. He's the transfer from Louisiana that I made not a big deal. It wasn't like signing
huge deal.
Well, it wasn't like signing Amani Bates, but it was like, hey, they lost Dwayne Washington, but they're grabbing Cedric Russell, this transfer from Louisiana, who averaged 17 points per game last season and shot 40% from 3 on 7.3 attempts per game. Like, some of that's got to translate, you thought. I went back and looked it up in this offseason. When they secured the commitment from Cedric Russell, that was a reason for me to update the top 25 and 1, and I moved them up based on that addition. Not far, but some. Well, he played 4 minutes against Akron, missed the second game of the season because of a death in the family, played 8 minutes against Bowling Green, didn't play at all against Xavier. Again, he was supposed to help ease the loss of Dwayne Washington. He's been a total non-factor this season. It doesn't mean he won't be a factor at some point, but it's just a reminder that these mid-major / low-major transfers up to the tip top of the sport, they often don't make the impact some of us, and I include myself in this, think that they will. He's been a total nothing so far for the Buckeyes. And then they lost Justice Sewing to an abdominal injury. He's going to be out for what has been described as, quote, an extended period of time. He was the third leading scorer on that team last season, averaged 10.7 points, 5.5 rebounds per game. So if you don't have Justice Sewing and Cedric Russell is giving you nothing, you might be in a tough spot.
Yeah, and if Russell's dealing with a death in the family, that's obviously our thoughts go out to him, and that might be hampering his development in the short term there. But Ohio State, you mentioned great. Welcome to the party, by the way. I had him ranked in the preseason top 25 level. I assume so. Did you? Because I haven't seen your latest. I got something with your rankings coming up. Though I'm gonna surprise you with something here.
That sounds exciting.
Did you swap out Ohio State and Xavier, basically? Like Ohio State left your rankings and Xavier jumped in? Is that what happened?
That's right. The only other thing I considered is putting Michigan State back in because they just blew out Butler. The computer numbers are improving since that season opening disappointing because they didn't really play competitively loss to Kansas. Michigan State, again, has good – the computer numbers have improved since then. They just blew out Butler at Hinkle. I was going to throw them in, and I just said, you know what? I'll go with the team that just got a big win as opposed to the team that, took a loss to a great team. But really, beating Butler is by a bunch is notable, but, Butler's not ranked. I'm not sure how good Butler's going to be. So I was picking between Xavier and Michigan State for 26th after dropping Ohio State out of the rankings. Yes.
Gotcha. All right. So I meant to do what I'm about to do right now. I meant to do it in the episode before the start of the season, but we just got all caught up with other stuff there. I'm about to read you the very first. I saved this when you did it, and I did not look at it until literally this morning. The very first edition of your top 25 and one that you filed the morning after the Final Four.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just see how much has changed. Now, this was obviously before transfers, people that left for the draft, all that goes without saying. But let's just, a lot of these teams are in similar spots. A couple of them are in the exact spot as the day after the Final Four. Obviously, some of them are gone. So I'm going to read it off and hear how this is the day after the Baylor won the championship. This was Parrish's top 25 and one. I'll read through this real quick. He had UCLA 1. It's now number 2. This, by the way, the when I say now number 2, this was as of yesterday's. I didn't see his new one, so I might be off by a ranking or two with some of these, but you get the picture. UCLA was 1. It's now number 2. Gonzaga was 2. It's now number 1. Do you know who you had third?
I don't remember.
You had Alabama, number 3, now 11th. But that was before they had they're still highly ranked, but
they had significant, somewhat unexpected roster turnover. Like, I don't know, the day after the Final Four, many people had, say, Josh Primo entering the draft.
Exactly. Perfect example. So you had Alabama 3, you had Duke 4, now 6th. You had Baylor 5th, now 8th. So we're still staying in. Number 6, though, out of the poll, Ohio State. But that was before NBA draft decisions, but you did have
that's when you're expecting, or at least I was expecting. I think if you go back and looked at my projected roster, It had Dwayne Washington Jr. on it.
Right.
Yeah. So
basically with everyone back, they were a 2 seed. That's why.
Yeah.
Florida State was 7. They're out. Michigan was 8th. You had them 17th. Purdue, you had 9. They're now 10. You had Kansas 10. They're now 3 on your rankings. You had Villanova 11, which is now up to 4. Houston was 12 then, is 12 now. Another team that's out, that was 13. Maryland, they're now out of your rankings. Kentucky was 14 then, 13 now, pretty much the same. Another one, Carolina, 15 then, 15 now, holding steady. Arkansas, you had 16th. You had UConn 17. Those are both still ranked. You've got Arkansas top 10. Another team that's out that you just mentioned, Michigan State, you had 18. They're gone. Bonnie's, you had 19. They're now 23. Tennessee's been basically the same, 20 versus 19. And then you got teams that are out. You had Arizona 21. They're out. You had USC 22. Out. Virginia 23. Out.
I've got USC back in now, by the way.
Okay. Well, I didn't see that.
USC's in.
USC's in. Virginia, out. Oregon, out. Illinois was 25. Now they were 22 at most recent. And then 26 with Syracuse which is out. So nothing like crazy drastic.
Yeah, I would say, if you don't mind me saying, that holds up pretty well.
You did a pretty good job. Alabama at 3 makes sense back then, but it was certainly notable that they were 3. And then the highest ranked ones that aren't in the rankings now, Ohio State at 6 and FSU at 7. So a fun little exercise.
Well,
so many changes happen over the offseason that it was cool to kind of go back to look at that day after the time.
Well, right now I've got Memphis in the top 10. I didn't have Memphis in that one. And that obviously is because they added Jalen Duren and Amani Bates.
That's right. So is there anyone else aside from, because that's what I didn't check because we ran into tech issues. Memphis is top 10. What's the second off the top of your head, given that you do this every single day? Memphis is a high-ranked team that you didn't have ranked at all the day after the title game. What would be the next highest-ranked team, if you can pull that from memory, in your rankings now?
BYU. I mean, I've got BYU 14th now. I had BYU unranked in the preseason, unranked the day after the Final Four. Seton Hall is another one. I've got Seton Hall now 16th. They were unranked on the day after the Final Four and unranked all the way through the preseason. Some of this is like the outliers, like, you know, you had Maryland, but you don't now, or you had Oregon, but you don't now. It's because they just lost. You know, they did. If you flip those results, and I know you can't, but you flip those results, they're still in. That actually, it's a reminder, I think, that, you know, I do that every year, right after the championship game, the next morning, whenever. And immediately people are like, you don't, this means nothing. You don't know. But clearly, you know, you're going to miss on Dwayne Washington coming back. You're not going to know where you're not even going to know Amani Bates and Jalen Duren are going to be in college because they both reclassified. But generally speaking, it is a pretty good indicator of who's going to be good in the season that is still, you know, 7 months away.
Well, I got some nuggets if you want them. If you want to hit on a few quick things here, a couple of headlines. I'll be quick on this. Pat Baldwin Jr. played Florida on Thursday, had 13 points. They got romped. That stinks. They only got 2 big games. I wound up talking about this on HQ this morning, GP. That was, you know, somewhat of an, they had 40, close to 40 scouts in attendance. Gonzaga, Texas had 23. Now, to be fair, the scouts are probably thinking that we're going to have plenty of time to watch Gonzaga, UCLA, Gonzaga, right, or whatever. But it was, you know, Baldwin wasn't that good. So that was, Florida continues to look pretty damn good, but Milwaukee, I hope it's not a season that goes to waste, but they were not competitive. You don't just walk into the O-Dome, as you well know. So that's a headline. Jim Calhoun is retiring for good, D3. You know what? I was going to bring up the audio to play on this pod, GP, that you had mentioned, but I went back and listened to it like you said you did. Emeka Okafor and Karan Butler, they're not bad. He drops like 11 F-bombs, and I was not gonna manipulate the audio with all the, I can't do this. But Calhoun is he's done. So he retires at the age of 79, 3 national titles, 10 Big East regular season championships, 7 tournament championships. Obviously a Hall of Famer. He steps down from Division III St. Joseph's right here where I live, so wanted to mention that. 2 more things. I mentioned Gonzaga, UCLA. Dick Vitale's been cleared to return. Right. Come on now. We'd love to see that. He's been battling cancer and undergoing treatment. So I just love that he's still doing this, man. I'm ambassador for college basketball, right?
He's the best. And he's one of the most recognizable college basketball figures who has ever lived, because of the prominence he's played on college basketball broadcast, because of his bald head, because he's Dickie V, because of, you know, PTPers. I know from a broadcasting perspective, he's not for everybody. Like, you know, but that is the sweetest man in the world, and a man who has worked tirelessly to raise money for cancer research. He's as genuine as they come. You know, I know that from a distance, this is, I think, sometimes rare in life for public figures. From a distance, some people are annoyed by it. but up close, everybody loves him. Everybody. And, it's just awful to hear what he's been going through. But unsurprisingly, he's kept a super positive attitude. And to see that pop on Thursday night that he's going to return for that massive, Gonzaga UCLA showdown, it made me smile. I don't know how much longer he's going to do this,
right?
But I love, at the very least, we're going to get to see him do it one more time. And I love that for him, he's going to get to be in that building and do what he has done so enthusiastically for decades. He's just, there's nobody I root for more than that guy.
Absolutely, man. I remember this would have been, I think 2012, maybe 2013. I was at the Garden to cover. I'm gonna pull a Parrish here. I don't remember who was playing. No idea.
Doesn't matter.
But I remember this. And it's probably like an hour before the game. Like a few fans maybe had filtered in, but teams are shooting around, and Vital's on the call. And we had met before. I had done a thing before I got to CBS when I ran College Hoops Journal back in the day. Shout out to the OGs who listen to the College Hoops Journal podcast, where I had gone up to ESPN and actually sat with Dick Vitale, Reese Davis, Digger Phelps, and I had basically chronicled a day of watching the NCAA, the first day of the NCAA tournament at ESPN, and it was awesome, and I had a great time. That would have been, I think, March of 2009 when I did that. And it was awesome. They were wonderful, and it was a great time. But I was just kind of sitting there. I was talking with maybe Jeff Goodman. But Vital came up and like shook my hand, and like he knew my name and called me out by name, and I didn't know that he knew who I was. And it was like, we had never made communication like, directly like that. We had not exchanged emails or anything like that, or DMs. So it was on a personal note. It was something that kind of took me aback there, because, he's certainly a living legend in all of American sports there. And as you probably well know, he's got a nice team that helps kind of get how he's written a couple of books and all this stuff. And so every time Dick Vitale does something, like I'm getting something in the mail, personalized. Matt, I hope you like. I could go and hunt somewhere over here behind me. Hey, Matt, hope you enjoy this. Love your coverage. Thanks so much, Dickie V. Like he's signing it. He's got just a wonderful, wonderful man. And you are right. The way that he calls a game has turned polarizing over the years, because he's got his own style. But I'm just telling you, as a person, don't know anyone better in all of college basketball media, and maybe all of media period. And it is wonderful that he is going to be back on the mic and still working.
That's right. And like, again, I'd mentioned this, sometimes people seem great or enjoyable or likable from a distance, but then if you're ever really around them, you wouldn't really enjoy them too much. Like they're better from a distance than they are up close. I think somebody's probably said that about me before.
Okay.
But Dick is the rare, I don't know about rare, but certainly mostly rare example of somebody who's better up close than he might be from a distance. I don't know anybody who knows him who doesn't love him. And, you mentioned, getting the signed books and all that stuff. He's just a generous man who takes time to make people feel better. And like when I posted on Instagram, I think when my son got accepted to Emory, which we were really excited about, not so excited about the tuition, $92,000 a year. Yeah, that's not fun.
Oh
but these dudes take $8,700 out of my checking account the 27th of every month. $8,700 comes out of my checking account the 27th of every month. That's a hell of a thing.
You got 8 more days, buddy. Brace.
It's a hell of a thing to look at when you call up the Truist account. But so anyway, I put that on Instagram or somewhere, and you get a text message from Dick Vitale who's like, "Hey, just really excited. This sounds great. Blah 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 blah." And if you'd have told 13-year-old me that someday Dick Vitale would be texting me randomly on a Wednesday afternoon, I'd be like, "What's texting?" Probably, because it didn't exist when I was 13. But you get the point. You and I have been doing this long enough now. We've met everybody there is to meet, and we've been around all these famous people, and you get numb to it. But there's still something about these larger than life figures from your childhood. You've got a relationship with them to whatever degree now. That's still neat. And getting to watch Dick Vitale still work in the year 2021 is neat. Getting to see him work soon under these circumstances is, as he might say, awesome, baby. So I'm looking forward to it.
It's awesome, baby. That's right. And I'll move on with one more headline, but I'll just say this, like us doing this podcast, college basketball being where it is and what it is, and it's obviously a competing network and how much they broadcast. That is Vitale in the early 80s, all through that decade into the early 90s. For the young people listening to this, and man, do you sound old when you say for the young people listening to this, but seriously, if you're under 25, you probably can't really fully appreciate or realize how influential of a figure in the sport Mr. Vitale has been, and awesome that it's awesome, baby, that he's back on the mic here. Last thing, I just want to mention this. I'm still technically right, but I'm not going to be right for much longer. There have been 2 postponements or games not being played due to or more than 2, but 2 teams due to COVID outbreaks. Wagner is currently postponing games, and then Abilene Christian, it's not even traveling to play in the Baha Mar 8-team tournament that it was supposed to be in down at the Bahamas. For the purposes of the tournament, the games will be forfeited, but they are not being logged as forfeits. So ACU, which made the tournament last season, by the way, it's not going to have any losses in the standings because of forfeits. And then it was supposed to play Coastal Carolina on Monday, starting in that. Coastal Carolina doesn't get a win. So as far as the NCAA is concerned, these are not yet forfeits. But I said good vibes only. Under 0.5 forfeits this season. We are still technically under, but it's not a great thing that we're 9-10 days in, and we've already had 2 teams that have not been able to play. So hopefully
because they're not properly vaccinated, correct?
That is my understanding. Yes. Specifically with Abilene Christian. Yes. Multiple players on that roster not vaccinated. So because of that, you have positive tests, and then you have contact tracing, which is why they can't go. Throw in the fact they are going to an island, and you'd have to quarantine and all that stuff. Yeah. So yes, that is correct.
All right, Deadleg. There's a pretty good college basketball schedule on tap for the weekend over the next 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We're going to get into that momentarily, preview some games, pick some games. The Final 4 and 1 is next, but first, check this out. All right, Deadleg, before we get to the Final 4 and 1, you got our updated records?
I do. I actually had to go back and I went back and listened. So I'm going to be jotting these down in real time this time, so I don't have to do this. And it was quite a treat to go back and listen to last week's segment, which went long. We'll be quicker this time. And you to have these I know you had these picks. You were like, yeah, man, no, it's I got to go with Texas to cover. It was like 11. I got to go with Texas to cover, and Florida State. And it was like, yeah, how can I not go with the Noles here? I'm going with the Noles. Noles did not cover. So you were 1-4.
Nah, it doesn't sound right.
It is. I went back and listened. You were 1-4.
I feel like I'm getting cheated.
I am 3-2. Continuing to take. We had a good couple suggestions in the comments last week in this podcast episode on YouTube. Go ahead and drop us some suggestions for what should be on the line for our season-long records here. But I'm 3-2. You are 1-4. You offer up the first 4 games, and I will do the and 1 and give us the 5th game to pick. Who do we got?
Friday. It's game 1. Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern. Ohio at number 13, Kentucky, inside Rex Chapman Arena. Kentucky -12. You can watch it on the SEC network.
This is tasty. Ohio's good. They lost an NBA player, and they might be just as good. This is.
Go ahead. Talk about their big win. No, I know you want to. Who'd they beat? Who'd they beat?
We don't need to talk about that. We just don't need to talk about that. Ohio is 97th in KenPom as we speak right now, 3-0. Yes, they did knock out Belmont. They also have wins over Cleveland State and Bobby Moe. So here comes a game against Kentucky. Numbers too big. I'm taking Ohio to win this, not to win, to cover, not to win. Mark, I was looking at the name. Mark Sears, sophomore point guard. It will be a wonderful replacement to Jason Preston, who's moved on to bigger and better things. So you give me 12, and this is the line. This is not the KenPom line. This is the line. We actually have courtesy of Caesar Sportsbook for all these Friday games. We have lines. There's a couple Saturday we got to get to, but the Friday games are the actual lines. So give me Jeff Bowles and company to win by single, or to lose. I keep saying they're going to win, like to lose by single digits. I hope they win. Go back. Nada will go back, cut this, make it look like I predicted an Ohio win the whole time, but I actually think it'll be pretty close. Like they'll lose by 5 or 6. Ohio covers with ease.
Kentucky's got some wild statistical individual performances going on right now.
Dude, I know you're about to say this, but I forgot to mention Oscar Tshiebwe is averaging 18.7 rebounds a game.
What? I mean, it's 18.7. He's averaging 18.3 points and 18.7 rebounds in 30.3 minutes per game. That's outrageous.
It's a joke.
And then there's Severe Wheeler. Remember, he led the SEC in assists per game last season at Georgia at 7.4. He's averaging 10 assists per game right now in 30 minutes per game, 11 points, 10 assists. And then Kellen Grady is averaging 12 points per game, shooting 56.3% from three. So the transfer market, I think you could reasonably argue nobody's benefiting from the transfer market right now more than Kentucky. And we talked about this a lot in the preseason, or at least I did, that Kentucky had obvious problems last season. There were 3 of them that really stood out. Too reliant on freshmen, no high-level point guards, and not enough competent 3-point shooters. So they go out and add Severe Wheeler, Kellen Grady. They enroll Ty Washington. So check out this difference. They added multiple high-level point guards, and they added shooting. Now, check this difference out. Last season, Kentucky shot 33.6% from three, which ranked 176 in the country, and they turned it over on 19.8% of the possessions, which ranked 217th in the country. Now, they're shooting 45.1% from three. That's 18th in the country. And they're only turning it over on 16.6% of their possessions. That ranks 90th in the country. They are 150 spots better in the country in 3-point field goal percentage. And, around, 120, 130 spots better in offensive turnover rate. They really, and I think this, John really specifically addressed these issues, and it's still early, but the numbers have drastically improved. And that's why Kentucky is going to be or at least it's among the reasons Kentucky is going to be a drastically better team than they were last season, and a, legitimate candidate to go to a Final Four, even if they did start the season 0-1 with the loss to Duke.
Yeah, I talked about this on HQ on Friday morning, then we can move on to the next game. But to me, the perimeter stuff is significant, but the rebounding of Tshiebwe and what he can be is what will ultimately make Kentucky Final Four worthy, I think, this season. We'll see if he can keep it. 18 a game is not, that's like Bill Russell territory. Like, you cannot, that's not sustainable. But if you're going to tell me Tshiebwe is going to be like a 14 board a game guy, that's magnificent, particularly if he's going to be that good and be reliable on the offensive end, so they can get second chance opportunities after threes and all that good stuff. If you picked it, I missed it. I have Ohio covering. Who do you have?
I'll take Kentucky to cover just because I'll be different than you. That really is the only reason. And you say it's not sustainable with Tshiebwe, and I think that's probably right. Like, I don't believe he's going to average 18 rebounds per game. But this isn't one of those deals where, sometimes you see, especially early in the season, like somebody had this massive performance and then, sort of normalized after that. But the average, on the season is still really high. This dude has gone 20, 20, and 16. So it's not like some outlier performance that's pushing him up to 18 rebounds a game. He's got at least 16 in 3 consecutive games, one of which was against, Duke, and that front line that features future NBA players, former 5-star prospects. So again, I agree with you. I don't think it's sustainable, but yeah, it looks like he's going to average 14, maybe 15 rebounds per game. That he's been incredible so far in the season. Game 2, Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern. It's Georgia Tech at Georgia inside Sundiata Gaines Coliseum. Georgia Tech minus 5.5. You can watch it on the SEC network. You don't remember Sundiata Gaines?
No, I don't. You got 5.5?
That's what it showed me.
Take Georgia. I'm going to take Georgia here, but I don't have a great reason. I need to know why you picked this game. What
It's an in-state rivalry between Josh Pastner and Tom Crean. What are you even talking about? They're playing it in Sundiata Gaines Coliseum. When I was a young reporter, I had hair and stuff. I covered 13 and under AAU National Championship Tournament. Number 1 ranked 13-year-old in the country at the time, Sundiata Gaines.
How'd that work out for him?
He became a Division I player.
Yeah.
Did some stuff after that.
What stuff?
Got a Coliseum named after him for one.
There we go. I like to see it. I'm going UGA, although, got to say, returns aren't that strong. Georgia's 2-1. Loss on the road at Cincinnati, has beaten FIU and 350th at Ken Palm, South Carolina State by a cool 16 points. Georgia Tech is also 2-1, opened up with a home loss for the second consecutive season, by the way. Opened up with a home loss to a mid-major team, lost to Miami University. That's out of Ohio, not out of South Beach or Coral Gables, if you will, and has wins over Stetson and Lamar. I don't know what the hell to think about either of these teams. I think Georgia Tech's the better team, but I'll take Georgia to cover in this.
Yeah, I'll take Georgia plus the points as well. This is year 4 for Tom Crean. It is not going well. Record to date is 43-50 overall, 14-40 in the SEC. He's finished 13th, and tied for 10th in his first 3 years in the league. And then after last season, lost his whole team. I think they had top 6 scorers, might have transferred. And now, as you point out, they're outside of the top 160 at Ken Palm, well behind Georgia Tech and Georgia State. They're 2-1 with a couple of nothing wins to go with that loss at Cincinnati. But Ken Palm currently projects Georgia's record to be 10-20 overall, 3-15 in the SEC. That's not a great first 4 years. He got Marquette going more quickly than that, and he got Indiana rebuilt from nothing more quickly than that. I'm surprised that this is going the way it's going. Are you surprised this is going the way it's going?
To this extent, yes. I cannot believe this is season 4 already, though. It's kind of wild to me that he's already in his 4th year at Georgia. And this is undeniably a hot seat situation. If they are not a good team and they are flirting at 500 or worse, it would not surprise me if we wound up seeing a coaching change there. But big opportunity here, stuff like this. Can you win this game? Can you steal this one as an underdog? A nice opportunity, and I do think that Georgia will keep it close, so I will take them to cover.
Game 3, Saturday, 1 p.m. Eastern. Number 5 Villanova versus number 17 Tennessee inside Mohegan Sun Arena. I forgot. Do we rename neutral court arenas?
I don't believe we do.
I don't think we do either.
I think we just we pay respect to the venue that it is, and but you know what? I saw DMB here less than 2 weeks ago. This is gonna be Carter Beaufort Arena for all I care. Carter Beaufort Arena. I'm gonna be on hand. Are you aware of this?
Yes, I'm aware.
I didn't know if you knew. I'm going to this game.
We've actually talked about it.
Have we?
Sure.
No. Yeah, are you sure?
Yeah, you're going on Saturday, but you can't go on Sunday because it's your boy's birthday.
Boom. He's on it. That's right. Not technically his birthday, but we're having the party and all that good stuff.
We can name it Staples Center since that's going away.
Actually,
let's just from now on, every neutral court will be Staples Center. So let me do it again. Game 3, Saturday, 1 p.m. Eastern. It's number 5 Villanova versus number 17 Tennessee inside Staples Center. Ken Palm has it Villanova -1. You can watch it on ESPN News.
Is that the channel?
Dude, you can't get on. Dude, it's college football Saturday. You're lucky to be on ESPN News.
That's wild.
It's either ESPN News or Pac-12 Network.
Man, oh man, oh man.
Pac-12 Network should try to get that Villanova Tennessee game.
It should.
That'd been good for them.
Teams in the Pac-12, it'd be one hell of a coup.
What if the Pac-12 started scheduling non-Pac-12 games? They're like, you know what? We've had enough.
I want to know if anyone at the Pac-12 network listens to this podcast. They must adore you. Just outright adore you.
You know what? I can't get the channel.
I know. It is what it is. I'm not saying you don't walk this back.
And I you know what? I reached out to him one time trying to be because Pac-12 fans, West Coast fans are always like accusing you of East Coast bias, even though I live in the South. I get constantly accused of East Coast bias. And they're like, you don't watch us. You don't watch us. And I'm like, you know what? It's partly true. A, because it's late and I got young kids. But secondly, you know, at least once a week there's a game that I would watch, but it's on Pac-12 Network. I can't watch it. So
Did you even watch the game? No. One of the big misconceptions about covering college basketball is that you have to watch the games. Not that important. It's not really that important. And so I reached out to the Pac-12 office and I said, hey, listen, there's a lot of media members that would probably like to watch your games and, you know, see how good Oregon State is or isn't. But like, we don't have access to your channel because you don't have a direct TV contract. Have you guys ever thought, just throwing it out there, because just throwing it out there, you guys ever thought about providing logins to your streaming for people in the media so that we can actually see these games? And they were like, yeah, we're not going to do that. I was like, well, that seems counterproductive, but good luck growing your brand. Exactly. Conference of Champions. That's probably a Larry Scott thing. This is a tough one. I don't know. This one feels toss-up-ish to me. I think Villanova is a slightly better team. Excited to see your little homie from Memphis.
He is.
Kennedy Chandler,
he's been great. He's been great.
He's been terrific. But him matched up with either Gillespie or perhaps Justin Moore. We'll see how Villanova chooses to defend him. I think this can be a wonderful game. I think this can be the very best game of the entire weekend in college basketball. I cannot wait to see it. Give me Nova to win. Nova to win and Nova to cover here. And I hope it lives up to the potential of being, you know, a very, very good game. Not as good maybe as Nova UCLA last weekend, but given the Wildcats also lost that, they've got just a bit of urgency here. I'll take Jay Wright's team to win.
Kennedy Chandler is my little homie from Memphis. He's averaging team high 18 points, 5 assists, 1.5 steals in 24 minutes per game. 18 points in 24 minutes per game. He's 6 of 7 from 3 through 2 games. That's 85.7%. He's 100% from the free throw line. And you're picking against that guy?
Yeah, I am.
He's going to come out and put RIP Dolph on his sneakers and go for 25.
I didn't take that into consideration, actually.
You don't pick you don't pick against a young man from Memphis in the aftermath of young Dolph's murder.
That's a fair point. Although Jay Wright just got into the Hall of Fame, this is the Hall of Fame tip-off. I figure he might have, you know, the ghost of James Naismith. It'll basically be, the ghost of James Naismith backing Jay Wright here, while Kennedy Chandler will have understandable motivation after just a horrendous tragedy in your home city with young Dolph, talented rapper there. Just an awful story.
I don't want to overstate it. I didn't almost witness it, but like I landed right after it happened at Memphis International, and I drive right past there to go to my radio studio, or I drive near there to go to my radio studio. But if I decide, hey, I might want to grab something to eat before I go to studio, I might drive right past there. And broad daylight. I mean, it's clearly he got ambushed. It was a targeted hit. And when I was leaving the airport, they were just now blocking off Airways, which is the street that is, runs parallel to the airport, because the murder happened, a mile and a half from Memphis International. And obviously the city's just reeling because, first off, a prominent, and I know he's, I get it. He's a flawed, he lived a certain lifestyle, but he also did a lot of really good, positive things for his community. And to see that happen is just wild. And as of this moment, they still don't have suspects. So we'll see. But it's been a wild week here.
You taking Tennessee?
Of course. I'm not going against Kennedy Chandler. That's crazy. By the way, I was looking at Villanova's team stats. They have 4 players averaging at least 16 points per game. That's not common.
Well, we're 3 games in. Like, let's give it a few more. I know what you're saying. It's not common, but they've also the UCLA game was overtime, more minutes and all that. They played, I think, 6 dudes in that game. So that's why that's happening.
Yeah, I don't need your explanation. I was just stating a fact. They have 4 players averaging at least 16 points per game. Game 4, Saturday, 4 p.m. Eastern. Number 18, North Carolina versus number 6, Purdue, inside Staples Center. KenPom has it Purdue -9. You can watch that one on ESPN News.
Did you know I'm going to be at this game?
Yep. I didn't assume you were going to leave after Villanova, Tennessee.
What if I did that? What if I showed up? And then, you know what? I'm out. What did I tell you in the preseason? What did I harp on?
I don't listen when you talk.
Okay.
Somebody actually did take a screen grab, and they were like, I always assumed Parrish clocked out when Norlander was talking. It's like, and I'm like this. I'm like, just hurry up so I can get back to rambling again, talking about young Dolph and premarital sex.
There we go. That's 3 shows in a row. I told you Zach Edey was going to be awesome. Told you.
You didn't say he's going to put Travion Williams on the bench.
That I did not say.
What is that about?
It's about Zach Edey averaging 18.7 points, 10.3 rebounds, and 2 swats a game. Travion's doing all right for himself. He's averaging 11.7 points and 9.3 rebounds and 3 assists. Like, Williams has been the first guy off the bench and still in 18 minutes a game. Purdue's friggin' terrific. They have been the reliable Big Ten team to this point, and I do think that will continue this week. If you have not yet seen Zach Edey, because you just didn't really follow Purdue a ton because they weren't like a top seed last season, they got knocked out right away in the tournament. He's probably going to be the most improved player in college basketball this season, and he's a monster. He's 7'4", and he just changes the entire dynamic for what Purdue can be. Purdue is 3-0 and has defeated 3 average teams. Wright State, might be the best team in the horizon, whatever. They killed them 96-52. They also have wins over Indiana State and Bellarmine there. As for Carolina, also 3-0, but it is flirted. We talked about this with GP on the previous podcast because he was there for the Charleston game, but flirted with Brown and flirted with Charleston in terms of taking a loss there. Scored 94 in both of those games, beat Brown by 7, and Charleston, they got away late. So they are 3-0, but I do like Purdue in this spot. I like them to win. That line's big. I think too big. So I don't think this is one of the deals where we got to give you the KenPom line because we don't have the actual Caesars line yet. I don't think it's going to be 9. I think it'll be like 6.5, 7. If it was that, it'd be a little bit tougher. I will take Purdue to win, but I will take Carolina to be inside the 9.
I'll lay the points. North Carolina is 52nd at KenPom, 50th at Torvik, and 107th in adjusted defensive efficiency, according to KenPom. They let Brown score 87, Charleston score 83. Meantime, Purdue is 2nd in the country in adjusted offensive efficiency, according to KenPom. They've scored the 90s in all 3 games. They might put 100 on North Carolina.
It's possible. Yeah.
They might put 100 on North Carolina. And so I'll take Purdue to cover that number. I want to circle back to the Travion Williams thing. He was 6th on our list of top 101 players in college basketball, a consensus preseason All-American. And he is coming off the bench averaging 18.3 minutes per game. He's now 5th on the team in scoring. He was 6th on our list of top 101 players in the country. He's now 5th on his own team in scoring. And Matt Painter was asked about this recently. And delivered a pretty lengthy quote. I guess he was asked about something along the lines of, how does Travion feel about coming off the bench? And here's what Matt said. He said, I don't think he agrees with it, but he does buy into it. And I don't want them to agree with me. I want them to be professional about it. I want them to understand the big picture about it and then go out knowing it's not personal. Their job when they came to Purdue wasn't to start. Their job when they came to Purdue was to help us win. I think it's hard to go through that, especially when you've started before. But if they've been around me, they know nothing's final, nothing's concrete. I'm not going to do it to appease somebody. I'm going to do what I think is best for Purdue. It does say a lot about Travion, how he's handled it. You can see if they handle it maturely by how they play. They showed their maturity when they play well. If you come off the bench and you're really upset about it, you normally don't play well. You've got to have a clear mind. And then he went on to add that Zach and Travion, quote, timeshare anyway. look at their stats. And it is true. Like Zach Edey is averaging 19 minutes per game. Trevion Williams is averaging 18.3 minutes per game. Pretty close. But Edey is up 4.3 minutes per game from last season, and Williams is down 6.7 minutes per game from last season. So that's an interesting little development that has happened in this season, that a player as productive and prominent as Trevion Williams is coming off his bench and only playing 18 minutes per game, but it's hard to argue with the results. And, who would I be to argue with? Like, Matt Painter and that staff know their team better than I know their team, and you know their team. I'm going to trust that they know what they're doing, but this is not something I don't think was on many people's radar in the offseason or in the preseason, that Trevion Williams' role would be coming off the bench and playing less than 20 minutes per game. Did you know? Because I somehow missed this last month, and I stumbled into it last night when I was getting all of this stuff ready. He had an incident with a McDonald's employee last month?
I did not know that, no.
Yeah, so some really nice reporting done on this, I believe by the campus newspaper. If it's not, forgive me. But apparently he was at a McDonald's after 1 a.m. and had made a mobile order for some fries. And they were like, hey, we're closed. We're not going to be able to fulfill that order. And he's getting into it with one employee, and then that employee goes and gets the manager. The manager is like a woman in her 30s. And she comes out, and there's audio recording of it. Like, you can hear them talking. And she's explaining to him, like, we're closed. And he's like, I've already been charged. And she's like, you're not going to be charged. Cancel your order if, to give you peace of mind. But, you're not going to be charged for your fries. And he's like, I want my basket of fries. And then what you hear is clearly her walking away. And then you hear her scream. And she alleges that he pushed her down. There's surveillance video that this publication also obtained, is really well reported, that shows her falling undeniably as she's re-entering the store. But it's unclear. You cannot tell. I couldn't tell by watching the video if he shoved her, or if the door made her fall, or if she just fell on her own. I couldn't tell. And the way the report described it was similarly. They couldn't tell. So it might just be a he said, she said thing. Purdue obviously didn't punish him in any sort of public way. And I have no idea if any of this stuff is tied together. But it was a pretty under the radar, and no charges were filed, nothing like that. But yeah, he had at the very least an uncomfortable, awkward, possibly inappropriate incident with a McDonald's employee last month that I think mostly stayed off the national radar, although I'm certain every Purdue fan, especially the ones on the message boards, know exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah, no, I had not heard that, but Williams also was asked about his role maybe after the first game, maybe after the second game, and he gave a good response to it about approaching that, all that. But I know I had not heard that, but hopefully everything is okay in regard to that. Last game, cruising over an hour here. Let's wrap this puppy up. I'm just gonna call this. I can't call every neutral court Staples Center. If you want to do that, that's fine. I do
want to do that.
Is it still the Staples Center as we speak, or did that are they changing the signage right now? I
believe it changes next month, but for now, in this moment, it's Staples Center, as is Mohegan Sun.
Okay. Friday. Undefeated matchup here. 3-0 Wichita State against 3-0 Arizona in Las Vegas at T-Mobile Arena. 10 p.m. ESPNU. The line is Arizona -9. Tommy Lloyd's first high-profile game as head coach of the Wildcats. Who you got?
I'll lay the points. Somebody tweeted me this morning and said, when's the last time somebody won a national championship in their first year as a head coach? Because Tommy Lloyd's about to do it. I'm paraphrasing. It wasn't quite that, but like they were really excited about the start of the Tommy Lloyd era. Yeah, I'll lay the points with Arizona. But that's an obviously big number against the reigning American Athletic Conference champions.
I'm gonna Did you see the video? I think it was Taylor Eldridge, local reporter out of Wichita. He shared of Dexter Dennis. So this would have been after the Tarleton State win earlier this week. Wichita State wins, gets to 3-0. Dexter Dennis, fantastic player. Him and Tyson Etienne are Wichita State's two best players. And I just never seen this before. I don't know if there's a backstory to this or if he just felt obligated to do. I don't know, but judging off the video that Taylor shared, it's like 45 minutes after the game has ended. Press stuff is all done, and Dexter Dennis is walking around the stands with the cleaning crew, like picking up trash in the arena. Like he's a star on the basketball. So I don't know if I don't know the backstory. I don't know if he wanted to do it, if it's something else where he was obligated to do it. I don't know. All I know is I'd never seen anything like that. And if this is something that he just felt like he wanted to give back, good on you, Dexter Dennis. But I'd seen that earlier in the week, and I just can't ever. I've seen plenty of videos of players getting up shots an hour after the media's done what it needs to do and whatever. I'd never seen any player actually go, bag in hand, picking up, used cups and et cetera, all of that in the aisles. So that was interesting, and hopefully he was doing it for all the right reasons, which it seemed it was. I will take Wichita State. With that in mind, I will take Wichita State. It's 9's a lot. Give me the Shockers to finish inside that number.
He might have just broken curfew.
It could be something like that, but I don't want to assume.
Yeah, I don't want to assume that either.
Have you ever seen that? I've never seen that.
No. I can't even get my kids to pick up their high C's.
And
throw them away.
Exactly.
Got high C's just laying everywhere. Just throw your high C package into the garbage. That's not difficult. Dexter Dennis can come live in my house whenever he wants. We'll move him in upstairs. If you could just pick up everybody's high C packages. Your kid's good at throwing things in the garbage?
Yes, they are actually.
Mine are terrible.
Sorry. Hey, how about this flag? We're better. Full size Bears. That's how I got a shade on. I got a shade down behind that with the flag. That's manageable. I feel like I'm not blinding viewers.
Your lighting situation is so inferior to mine.
It is undeniably, but my room situation is certainly superior. Gonna hop on the drums after this. Slam some skins for a couple minutes.
Slam some skins. You sound like Brandon Davies.
I'm gonna smash those skins, and you should smash that subscribe button. Shouts to Nada again. If you're watching on YouTube, the banner at the bottom says smash the like and subscribe buttons, and then in parentheses, you have consent. That's wonderful producing, Nada.
Shouts to Devin Downey. Shouts to Chester, South Carolina. Shouts to Anthony Jones, legend. Shouts to Larnell. Thank you guys once again for listening to the Iron College Basketball Podcast in the middle of the absolute dumbest, most ridiculous pandemic of my lifetime. If you're not subscribed, please go subscribe anywhere you subscribe to podcasts, including Apple Podcasts. While you're there, please rate it, review it, 5 stars and nice comments. And then, like Deadleg said, go to that YouTube page. Hit the bell button so you can get alerts when a new video drops. I hit the bell button. I don't think I've gotten an alert yet. What do you think that means?
I think you might have to make a call to YouTube like you did the Pac-12 network and see how that works out for you.
Somebody get YouTube on the phone for me. I don't think I'm proper.
I gotta call the YouTube.
I gotta get YouTube on the phone. I don't think my bell's ringing correctly, but they say it will. So trust them. Don't trust me. We started this thing 30 minutes late because of my wire. So don't trust me on this stuff. If they say you hit the bell button, you'll get alerts, then you probably will. I don't recall getting an alert yet. Smash the like button. What would Brandon Davies do to that like button? He would smash it. He would give up an entire year of basketball just to smash that like button. He's done it before. You have consent. Go smash it. We'll talk to you again on Monday morning. We should let people know.
That's correct. Travel again.
I got a flight to New York City on Sunday night, and Succession's on, Curb Your Enthusiasm's on. So Monday morning from New York City, my lighting situation should be great. I should have Manhattan in the background. Looking forward to it. We'll talk to you then. Till then, take care.